We're going to get the Italian Village Commission meeting underway. I'll call it to order for Tuesday. Is that today, really? No. What is the date today? I forgot. Oh, June 10th. There we go. Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. And we are in 141 North Front Street. Conference room, actually 205 today, right? Our next business meeting will be on Tuesday. See, that was crazy. Oh, it's all coming back to me. All right. So I'm like,
Like not using one.
okay, yeah, I was like, I think I was going crazy. Okay, now it's all back. So either 111 or 141, whatever building we're in right now. On the second floor, room 205, and the next month's hearing is Tuesday, July 8th, at 4 p.m., probably in this same room. But maybe next door into can I swear in staff if you'd raise your right hand and state your name for the record? I'll tell the truth and the best of your ability and your testimony is excellent. Okay. All right, let's go down the road, introduce everybody. Carl, if you can introduce yourself.
Herman Trott.
Joe Berardi.
Paige Kaplinsky.
Jason Sudi.
Jordan Smith.
Perfect. And do we have a public forum?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, let's do the approval of staff approvals, which begin somewhere down. Oh, I see it. It's on page 2. Okay, I have a motion for approval of staff approved applications. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now we'll read through for abstentions. Anybody abstaining to 986 North High Street? 295 East 4th? 295 East 4th again. Let's keep going. Uh, 1038 Hamlin. Okay, that's it. Any abstentions on any of those? All right, so all the way back to the beginning here. Application is 144. Doesn't look like they're here.
Earlier this week, we talked to them.
Okay.
Did you go? Minute approval from them?
Oh, you know what? Even when somebody else is here, I forget everything. I'm really good at it. Okay, can I have a motion for approval of minutes from May 13th? In a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is. Oh, abstentions, do we have any abstentions? Now, let's do staff approval, or staff certificates of appropriateness. So it sounds like they're not here. Let's skip over that one and then we'll come back. They show up. So with that, I think you're up. So it's COA 25005133301 Dickinson Street. Once you get seated, we'll get started. Okay. Okay, would you raise your right hand, state your name for the record? And you promise to tell your truth to the best of your ability in your testimony? Excellent. Okay, so we'll go to staff and then over to you.
Okay, first we have 2 projects.
Hold on, we'll do staff.
Oh,
It's all right, it's all confusing, we're in a different room. I feel very different.
Special application for new construction. Building connected to Shepherd Park Phase 9 in place of the previously proposed office building. The proposed building to be 5 stories tall with various configurations proposed. Option 1 is a high studio count with 86 apartments overall. Option 2 is a high 1-bedroom count with 72 apartments overall. And option 3 is a high 2-bedroom count with 72 apartments overall. Staff analysis within previous reviews between 2021 and 2023, the commission was supportive of the massing and scale of the previous proposal. Apartment building has a similar scale and massing to the previous proposal. No elevations or site plans have been provided for review at this time, but HPO staff recommend including the level to ensure consistency with the Italian village guidelines. Recommendation, this is that proofs of action required. So the recommendation is for commission for design feedback that can be utilized to further refine the proposal. The basis for the staff. City Code Rule 1612, to new construction. On village guidelines for new construction. One through in one page.
Brilliant.
We're calling this now phase 9. This is the project that this was completed. And now,
Yeah.
and one of the strongest aspects of that, we did the garden that came from the park from back here.
Really trying to
All
help.
that garden turned out beautiful. So now we're proposing to start to where the office building was. But height, some detail, but also keeping the garden open all through here.
Oh, cool. Okay. I would mess around.
Yeah.
Only that 9.5 and 10. that we're gonna take on site.
So you're basically really just truly wanting to replicate the exterior and interior courtyard materials of the building.
For
Okay, well, that is pretty.
also the same one.
Nice. Okay, that's. Okay, well, I guess that's, do you have anything else you want to tell us before we?
No, the only thing in regard to the office, we absolutely could not get anything. We're saying the same thing, we see that the setback.
I mean,
I would like High Street. It's all-
You said they're all saying it's 2 setback into a.
Into a residential neighborhood. Office for other problems is bringing crossing, but we have the food hall there and the children. And that's what.
our interest was in, trying to do mixed use. I've never been, my dinosaur about the use back here. It's, yeah, obviously residential works here. At the same time, I think we just saw maybe an opportunity due to the fact that someone would be interested in occupying this as an office.
We thought that was.
Yeah, but if not, I mean, we're not, I'd certainly much rather have this developed as residential. Out a future site, who knows how long, now. City, yeah, well,
What you got, the project in regards to parking. Office was fine on cars per thousand.
Yeah.
So we can.
and then this, so basically you can accommodate whatever city parking demands are, arise for that garage.
Correct.
That makes sense.
David Barry will bring it, but there's a variance.
Okay, let's go down the row and see what people think. How would you?
Well, so you're saying that the parking will meet the new city standards. Where will that be? I'm cold and I don't want to make other people sick. Curious where the
It'd be
parking.
going into our parking garage. Our parking
Okay, in the
garage.
parking
It's
garage.
size for the office.
Which is really honest about. Model shows.
Yeah, the whole parking garage, it's this whole thing, the parking garage.
Which is this.
And it's size for the office, so have, it's actually parking this and then phase 8 as well.
I'm just curious, are these a similar, the price point is the right word, but are they a similar rent structure as other units, or are they meant to be higher or lower? Just curious about that.
It's one for, and then that brings it $1.26.
I have been on this commission a couple of years now or more, and I still wonder with what it is, things that I think are helpful comments. But maybe out of our preview, but I just wanted to say, in looking at the 3 different options on the plans, that I would be in favor of eliminating long interior corridors without any kind of opening to the outside, where in some of these plans you seem to have that, and it just seems so much fewer ways without any windows or things to the outside. The other thing that I would say is similar. And they have this exterior kind of facade. And so, and part of that is because of the way that this quite small. And so just thinking about everybody's experience as they're in the building, I think those are 2 things that would be not one option that we just saw. We saw the corridor open out to the, and have a window that would come in. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Those are, kind of architectural design, issues, but I think that it could really make a difference in the quality of people living in an apartment complex like this. And
Have too much to say. Of the 2 options, I kind of like option 2 the best. I think it's a nice light touch. Actually, one that's right on the screen. I think that's, I think for me, it's just understanding the detailing and understanding the final massing otherwise.
Option 2, body taking on, getting rid of it, accepting the capital.
Yeah, I mean,
And I agree with you, I think it's operational.
yeah, exactly. It's a nice delicate.
To add is that, probably what we'd be looking out for is, let's say, like coming, when you're on that highway, this is kind of a look at Italian Village or an overview, so paying attention to that would be the east facade a little bit of how, just how that will be represented from the highway, given it's some nice scale to it to kind of, so, yeah, it'd be great as an introduction to Italian Village.
All wrapped.
Okay. Always the more pedestrian friendly for this whole area, and connecting the other units and making it, pretty set far back, making it feel as walkable and directionable to other areas.
Yes, page 8.
Okay, okay, okay.
And John Parker goes.
Oh, yeah, I see.
And because I wasn't on the commission when this had first came in for the office proposal, is this essentially the same footprint as the previously proposed as far as the building lots?
The office workers.
Okay. That's all. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, like I kind of, tip my hand already. I'm not too concerned with regard to what is within that volume. I think, clearly, the fact that you have this exact same thing right next door, it's pretty easy to understand. A couple things that you have going for you really strongly. I think we would have been concerned if there was some way where the visibility of the garage was sort of more exposed to the neighborhood. It's not. It pretty much have already been. And using the same materials, it seems like it's been pretty successful. I think the garden element, it's just a huge win. It really worked out, like you said. I'll credit, both David and I'll give credit to another former commissioner, Ben Goodman, who really pushed to have alternative materials in the wider spaces between those, the condo flats. I've walked around in this area quite a bit, and I think it really has very successful in the combination of the open space in that large courtyard for the larger apartment building, combined with the alternative paving materials and, kind of our alleys, but also pedestrian passageways, flats into the park. Park's obviously really nice, and then have this welcoming space. And I walked in there and I didn't feel like I couldn't walk in at the same time. I knew I wouldn't like hang out there because I didn't live there. Nation where any person can walk through there and feel like get the vibe, but you also don't feel like, and obviously the gated areas and things like that. But you walk into the main space and be like, oh yeah, this is cool. And it's additive on the street and it's massive. So yeah, I think it's a good use and easy. I don't really have any particular elements to add. I think, yeah. No, obviously, we're not trying to maximize property. I think it just makes it real easy, the fact that you've already got that garage there. Requirements.
Thank you very much.
All right, anything else anyone wants to add on this one? Okay, well, let's go to the next one, which is the same applicant. I have to read it into the record though. In the back. So, one will be COA 2500511, which is 705 North Sixth Street, Jeffrey Park Phase 10. Same applicant, no one needs to be sworn in. So whenever you're ready, staff will go to you and we will talk about this.
This is also a conceptual application for new construction. The construction buildings with the surface parking lot and the analysis. A site plan was previously approved under the variance recommendation. The road connection from North Sixth Street to North Fourth Street. Maintaining that connection was an important reason for the commission to recommend the variance and to approve the design. The design was approved in October of 2023, with final approval pending submissions and approval of landscaping. In September of 2024, the commissioner gave proposal to change lighting, artwork, and landscaping. The site plan changes include removing the connector that following is taken from the September 2024 Italian Village Commission minutes. Commissioner comments. Commissioners stated they will push hard for this portion to continue, since all information has not been given and received in order for the commission to. I'm concerned that there has not been enough discussion between different organizations and parties and appears to be confusion and a lack of clarity. Commissioner Studi has spoken to other people with city and ODOT and has received commitment from the deputy director of District 6 of the ODOT to hold a site visit to give people who are affected to voice and discuss their concerns. Commissioners are concerned about issues for neighborhood traffic concerns, such as the bike, pedestrian, and vehicular traffic that are not being addressed. The current site plan contains Street. A site plan has also been added to the materials since the business. I was asked to add that this morning by Sophie. So, the staff recommendations is for design feedback that can be utilized to further refine the proposal for review in a future IBC meeting. The relevant basis for staff recommendation is city and village guidelines for new construction building addition 1 through 8.
Great, sounds good. All right, what do you got for us on this one?
Okay, this is the final one. This is on North Fourth Street. We were changing from a 5-story into a 4-story to a 4-story. Probably walk-ups. We can walk up to the outside. Six. Probably one of the most important things about the last controversy that we mentioned, something like that. The new site plan shows that they're not blocking that. And they're still keeping it.
Yeah, the engineering, plans office, I assume you get. I'll just blame it on that.
And this goes from the garage to surface parking.
So basically, you're gonna show the same roadway configuration you have on previous plans. And
Right.
great.
Like the materials, a lot of the past ones we use.
Was how this compares, footprint. That's, I think. First story.
Yeah. Oh, condos, yes, that
Yeah.
is 4-story.
And so, and
I
it
forgot
looks
the
like
name, but
Moreland Lane, probably the one that's along,
right.
obviously shorter going out more.
The only big difference is that the, don't put in the. I think that windows. Like, Carlo was talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, start early again, talk through this one.
I'm gonna let you, can you address,
That's what Rob was saying, that the site plan that they will actually be submitting, and we're doing this for real. So the agreement that we had to.
Okay.
That German held them for the time. We're basically in the same spot, or not yet, but, release that study, so we're all kind of in stasis waiting for that to happen.
I think, my only question, and I'm not sure what you're saying about the site plans, is that these are not the final site plans, they're just conceptual, or is one of these actually?
Once the left of that. After I look at the section. Yes, it is a final site plan, and it's only get your.
I am the person who is always the gardener of having trees planted, and there are quite a few trees on here, which is colored one, which is quite nice. I have to put them aside, but I'm just curious, when we look at this. That's for an engineering purposes. So,
Design will do the landscape.
okay, so there will be a nice amount of trees providing shade in
Yes.
the parking and that kind of thing. Okay, so I just wanted to ask about that, and also to ask maybe that they consider putting some of these trees a little bit closer to the parking if they can, so that we're actually creating shade. 20 degrees cooler underneath the tree than it is the tree. And also the old standard, and I have to admit, I've been out of the country, so I feel like I've only gone for months. Is that you had to have a tree every 8 parking spaces, which is really that demanding. But I would like to see a lot more trees, and through this center one, not that you necessarily have to take out spaces if you don't have them. There are ways that you can plant at these intersections and pick up the heat island effect and to make those parking lots not as hot as it would be.
Parking is along the roads, there's some being in there, but the breadth and price of center aisle. Trees in the 10-foot, 20-foot area. So we'll get rid of that, make it 10.
So do they consider using silver cells and things that allow you to, if you think of like a plastic milk crate, they're something that's made to create an area underneath the and things like that, so that the trees can grow in that area. You don't have to just give up your parking necessarily. But just so the main idea that there is less heat getting in these, parking
We're
lots.
definitely look at.
Yeah,
Telling out some massive, understanding kind of the cross section, and kind of understanding heights. There's that next. Offers. Materials.
And then from first look, I'm excited actually about it being broken up and a little bit scaled down from what we were looking at previously. And it sounds like we kind of went through some of those, the brick detailing things, sounds like some of that will be coming back. So the one thing that I was looking at on here is the space between building A and B. If that could, I mean, not as familiar with the whole different part, but if that could feel like a inviting pass through to Fourth Street, just as another pedestrian, just pedestrian, I'm saying, could be just another easy connector through there, and it seems like it's almost there. But maybe take a look and see if that could be further to.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's very close to our product.
Yeah.
Terrace kind of area.
It could, again, I feel like you could take it different approaches if it wants to feel like an alley walkway, if it wants to feel like a park stroll through Fourth, or, but just creating that connection.
I know this, I was going to say, one of the things, tagging on to Paige is that they're also going to make more gracious kind of entrances into the building, not an 8-foot wide sidewalk. So it feels like it's a little plaza outside of the building and creating, you know,
On the, side.
Yeah, no comment.
I think a lot of this, I mean, I think the details that are gonna be important are all things that the other commissioners have brought. Where you end up specifically citing the buildings with regard to the food line and what you do in all those interstitial spaces are the key things I'm looking at. Specific. I think there's a lot of success with the building just to the north. Size is related because of the ability to get those maples in there. Or it's not a tree line, it's like a building line instead of a tree line. And like right above it, right here. And I'm not saying you have to replicate that exact dimension, but I think obviously I'm taking like a 2-second look at your survey, so I'm not sure exactly how the right of ways look at. Maybe even skinning up other portions in favor of behind the building and the parking lot, or the parking lot to Fourth Street, or however that works, you know, you just have them kind of look through that. I know there's grades to deal with in those other. Extra, not a huge amount, but a little extra on 6 in particular, and someone on 1 to start to make it feel a lot more like the building that's just to the north. I think that would be great. And those trees have thrived and have gotten thrived. They've gotten very tall very quickly because they have that big one. I'm also interested in kind of building off of the cut through. I think it's important side of the Warren, or of the Warren building, that what would happen there if there was a sidewalk. And the reason I bring that up is we don't know what's going to happen with this ODOT investment. We don't know if there's opportunities to potentially get portions of sidewalk that'll be south of Warren. And so what I don't want us to do is build a building in a way that would preclude us from having an actual sidewalk
I
section.
think that should fit on a survey.
Does it? Okay, good.
Yes, we have a sidewalk.
Oh, do you? Okay.
And we're already taking the sidewalk off.
You know what? I prefer to have that shown now and we can figure that out
Well,
later.
if you look on.
Oh, I see it. I got it. I see it now. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we can figure that out later because, there's an opportunity to maybe make some modifications there. Final thing on that plan I'll bring up is that, I would like to see some sort of augmented, screening for the parking entry off of Sixth. I'm not sure what that is. Talk to landscape architects about that. Whether that is some sort of low wall or some sort of more, involved planting. I know since you said there may be slopes for the side of the building, I don't know what the grading is going to be like. Anything we can do to make it feel less like we're, have this double pulling into a parking lot. The other part of that would be, again, understanding of layout constraints. If there turns out to be a way to not have two curb cuts, one after the other, that would be better. I don't know, possible, or maybe like think through again. Maybe better. Yeah. That way it's more of a limited impact on the pedestrian. Especially if you do end up having this, be a pretty robust planker bed facility that goes underneath that ramp. So those are really my takes, nothing else massive. I think it's fine, I get it. You took a big bite on the other one and for your own personal market reasons have decided that is a better approach for this site, and that's fine with us. I mean, the advantage is that the parking as in the other spaces is kind of tucked behind. Now, if things ever change out Fourth, who knows what could happen in the future, and I think the fact that you have enough surface in existence here that allow you to kind of reposition the site at some point in the future without these buildings causing a problem. So I think it's good for now, good for later. I think there's no. Last thing I want to say on the last one, which just real quickly, I think from the perspective, I agree. However, as far as the unit counts that you have within, I'm not concerned about that.
I just wanted
No,
to
no,
talk about, so when you're talking about this facade.
Yeah.
And its relationship to this building here.
I'm talking about the relationship more to Fourth Street, but then also for both the sides. I'd be interested, there's a building to the north that has a full Sixth Street frontage.
Can you point to that?
Yeah, this one. It's basically this same building
Mhm.
that size-wise, that would be replicated here according to their site plan.
Mhm.
And when you go down the street, it is just a little bit further back. And that allows a larger lawn to have larger maples in there. And it really, I don't know, it just softens the feel of the long building.
And are you, now that I look at this and you're bringing this up, I'm thinking, wow, this facade is pretty close to curb. Which one do we have there?
Yeah,
There,
thank you for bringing it. We have the position where it was, it's within 5 feet of the property line. And why we did that originally, we tried to be more. Here and from Jason, talking about landscaping to the south of building A, broken down. With wide green path there, plus a 5-foot sidewalk, so we can move the building down. And bring large trees to that. And we also do the same on number 6, take that in with the check. Up from the side of the sidewalk.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I think it's still urban. I just don't think it needs to be like hyper urban because of the size of the buildings. And it's like just that little softer version.
No, if you're with that, I think that could
Can
be
we spell
incredible.
that?
Exactly. Yeah.
North side.
And then, and one curve cut from garden to parking lot, that's a great change.
And again, we're like, trying to do this thing where we're creating urbanized street up against a freeway ramp and also is, livable and has good personality and has a pedestrian and biking friendly aspect to it. So I know you're balancing a lot of issues here.
back to these kind of spaces that are in here, that it seems like there can be a kind of comprehensive look at not just providing the 5-foot sidewalk, but where do we provide, like it's a nice landscape? Um,
The other thing, did we get a refund? Garage and tree out the anything else you need from us?
No, that's it.
Anything else from others?
I, I think there is going to be worked on for, with the bike lane stuff. What's that? Okay,
Yeah, they're gonna flip the bike lane inside.
similar to how it is on Third.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it won't have an impact on curb line. It's gonna reallocate the lanes. That's on the street.
But that's the offering.
That's the word. That's supposed to be.
I thought that's all, the change of.
We'll see. We'll see what,
There's saying they'll be driving parked cars.
right. So if you've been on campus.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's, you know, if you're in that lane, you still have to watch for car doors, but the likelihood is reduced. And cars that are driving this much, so usually.
Is there a bigger setback then for like turns for parking availability? 'Cause yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, big plans. All right, so going back to the, staff, do you recommend that we, talk about this at all, or should we just continue to the next meeting?
All the applicant needs us to do.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, in that case. Sure.
I used to live across the street from that property. Are they allowed to, use these speakers? Are they hooked up and running now?
So. Patio, and I think currently the sound system is there, but I don't know if they're allowed to use it based on like the noise for the street, so.
That's when I lived there, the noise that, renovated or brought up to speed, and it was a real problem. Unless sleep at 2:30 in the morning every. But, so I just wanted to make sure that they're not playing music, you know, that doesn't, adhere to the noise ordinance.
Still active with them, so it won't be closed out until the issue is.
Why did we get another month of playing this music loudly if that is just because he's.
There are two different things. One is that, you know, we don't have control over enforcing the noise ordinance. So if someone is complaining any given day, there's nothing that we can do about it. Unless if he's violating the noise ordinance, then, you know, they have to enforce that legal capacity. So what we can do is basically someone can.
Sometimes somebody can have this property, I mean.
That's a bigger issue,
Where do you-
bigger discussion.
Oh my gosh, how many, I
mean,
couldn't
most-
sleep when I opened this up and I thought, another code violation.
I would say in a practical sense, in my experience, typically code violations will eventually get fatigued enough by the fact that they're constantly getting cited and having to about what they're doing, try to avoid it. That clearly hasn't happened with this applicant yet.
And I don't.
There have been other ones that have gone longer than this, I can tell you. So usually what happens is like eventually they're like, you know, they realize why are they beating their head against the wall and doing these things, aren't benefiting them or us.
I think it's,
Not ideal, and ideally though, if this is an existing code violation, then they should be, you know, working to actively remedy the parts they can right now. It sounds like they've taken out the TVs. the volume at which they place a existing speaker.
What about if they hire a DJ, said DJ brings in speakers, but they're not affixed to the property?
That's not something for us that we don't get to talk about. Like we could dictate if they put a stage outside or lights outside where the DJ could go. But we can't control anything about the operation. If they violate the noise ordinance based on the operation, then that's a.
But I mean, with that, I don't think it's gonna make a difference for the noise if they have the speakers or not, because
I will say, there's been a proliferation again. Comes and goes every few years. They're just so cheap. A bunch of people put them out and then everybody start being excited and then take them away again. So. It's also easy because I think a lot of times people will see that there are other bars that have speakers and TVs inside that face outside, and they assume that they are also allowed to put them outside. They're actually not allowed to put them outside. They're like, it's the same thing as that place. And, well, it's not actually the same place. So it's, yeah. It's like, I'm sorry.
no. it's just-
Well, I know you know this, but it affects the people who are there,
I know.
me being one of them, having to listen to bad. That was the least of the concerns, but it was always coming from that place. And I mean, I don't know, I'm just disappointed with the whole changes that we had such an amazing area, and it's not what it used to be.
That's a different discussion. There were a lot of bad things about it before. Oh, there were a lot of bad things. Trust me.
Oh, well, you mean before?
Sure.
Well, that,
So again, that's part of evolution, and we can have
Yeah,
a
but-
discussion, but our job is to create the form of the district, the operation. Okay, so do I have a motion to table? 11 or COA 2500507 North High Street until our next regularly scheduled. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed, no abstentions? Okay. So you're opposed? Okay. No, no. That will move to the next regular. Student council staff.
I think it's such a huge, and like someone like looking at the views of it. Items in the world.
Okay, anything else? I do have one thing. Which, you know, since you phone in for so quickly, there's, if anybody's seen up on Warren, across, Summit into the neighborhood, there's a huge project that was done for just a bunch of underground utilities, and then for insulation on top, which is turning out generally really nice. They are rebuilding the street section, including permeable pavers on the side for all the parking area, bump outs, and mostly on Warren, it's up by Triangle Park and then North High Street. So starting, I don't know, a couple of months ago, month or two ago, they're pouring some of the curb ramps in a very dark colored concrete. And so a lot of the neighbors were reacting pretty unfavorably. And as things would have it, of course, someone then says that they heard from somebody at the city told them that we decided that it should be that color. And then we're gonna start making everybody in the neighborhood start doing that, which is definitely not true. So I asked staff to look and see if we ever even heard it. Typically, we don't comment on public infrastructure from a detailed perspective. Maybe we'll get a courtesy review. So I don't know if that ever came in front of us. I don't remember, not to say I remember every single application. I don't remember reviewing it. I don't remember that happening. So,
The short resolution of.
okay, sounds good. So I just asked staff to take a look and see, not that it's gonna change perception. Now that we're gonna go and change everybody's mind up. Said that I just like to be able to. It's not. It also then stopped pouring the parking lot because everybody was complaining about it, so it was already gonna be a patchwork, now it's more like a limited patchwork. So that part's kind of funky. The other stuff looks great, the sandstone, edging and the vertical pavers, and then obviously they're gonna have to rebrand the street. Still unclear about whether they're replacing more of the sidewalk, because that's a little uneven too. However, the part they've done so. So if you get a chance, go look at it. And when someone blames us for it, then we can install it. About it. That's the haps and the. All right, so do I have a move to adjourn? And second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, no objection. All right.